Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Above the Rim. I'm your host, Antonio Sacca, joined today by Matt Hazy, the VP of Basketball Operations with the NCBBA. How we doing today, Matt?
Good, Antonio. How are you?
Good, man, good. I'm glad to have you on the pod again. It's always fun talking NCBBA. We've been underway for about a month now, so
Yeah.
just run us through, kind of the key early movers, any fun action that's gone on, and just a little bit about the NCBBA season so far.
Yeah, so we're getting down here to crunch time. This past weekend was week 17, so this coming weekend's week 18, and teams only have a few weeks left to play some games. Spring break's going to be happening here very soon as well. So we're getting down to the wire here. We already have some teams who have clinched regional spots on both sides of things. So just to start on the men's side, we have Pitt and Villanova in the Mid-Atlantic who have clinched. We have UNC Charlotte, who has clinched in the South Atlantic, and our Great Lakes region. We have three teams who have clinched in Creighton, Notre Dame, and Michigan. And then on the women's side of things, we have Miami, Ohio, and Indiana in the Mid-America regional. They have officially clinched, and we actually have Sacred Heart, who has clinched the conference champs of the New England West. They're the first New England team on the women's side of things to clinch a playoff spot. So yeah, we're getting there as next week happens, and I'm sure even more spots will be clinched. So we're getting down to crunch time and a lot of fun things have yet to go on, to play out to see who's going to take these remaining playoff spots.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's pretty cool to have teams, clinch this early. I think it's good for the teams, but I also feel like it could be a detriment to some teams because they put it onto, autopilot. They're like, well, we're going to the playoffs, so who really cares about these next couple games? And I know obviously seeding, some people are like, well, we're at a neutral site anyway. It doesn't matter who's home or who's away or anything like that. But if you take your foot off the gas for a couple games and then next thing you know, it's regionals and you're like, oh, we got to play, a really good team, and we've been playing our backups for half the games, and people aren't showing up to games. So it's
Yeah.
really interesting to see, how some teams could handle anything like clinching early.
Yeah, with the early clinchers, a majority of them have played all their games already,
Yeah,
which is good. So,
yeah,
they have practices, they might have a non-conference game here and there, but these clinchers now, they've pretty much played all their conference games. So, now it's just fine tuning. It's just getting ready. It's, adding in a non-conference game if they'd like or two or whatever, and just to, get ready and prep for regionals.
yeah, definitely. Those non-conference games are huge, and getting those in, does that really affect their seeding in that way, or is there anything that like,
Um, Not really. The only thing that would affect seeding purposes would be, their national ranking has a little bit of weight to seeding. So that could play a factor, overall record, and things like that. But for the most part, it's basically just their conference record.
yeah, that's awesome. One last thing. Those are in about a month, right? A little over a month, if I remember correctly. It's like that last weekend in
Regionals,
Mar yeah, regionals last weekend in March, right?
regionals will be a month from this Saturday. They'll be going on. So
So
March
we're
28th,
running
29th
up on
weekend.
those.
Yeah, yeah, they're in a month away this Saturday. We'll have regionals going. We'll have teams clinching that Sunday, and we'll have our national championship April 10th, 12th.
That's awesome, Matt. So speaking of regionals and teams clinching, we do have one of those teams that did clinch joining us today. And I'm sure that they know they clinched with it being, as you said, new as of today, I believe.
Hmm.
So we could even, if they don't know, we could even tell them right on the show. So let's get Mike, who's the head coach of Sacred Heart, and Rebecca and Grace, who are both players on Sacred Heart Women's Club Basketball on. Hey, how's everyone doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Thank
How are you?
you.
Good,
Good, good.
good. Thanks for,
Congratulations, guys.
yeah, congratulations on winning your conference. Thanks for joining us today as well. We appreciate you guys coming on to talk a little bit about, the team. I know you guys were there at the national championship last year, and obviously building off of that year, going back to regionals this year is awesome already. What's kind of the key things that you guys grew from last year to build on to this year's team?
I would say it's the leadership, and I would say it's the chemistry that's within the team.
We were lucky to return almost every single player from last year, which was great. We lost one senior, so we had a bunch come back. You know, the leadership of our seniors, our underclassmen, just taking the new players, whether they're sophomore, junior, but we also have a handful of freshmen, just taking them in, and the chemistry and just the togetherness of the team, I think was a great place for us to start.
Mike,
That's awesome, coach.
since last season, we moved you guys to a different conference, the New England West Conference. What's kind of been a difference in competition between conferences for this year?
I would say, Rutgers, Montclair, Fairfield, all those teams in our league were really, really tough. I would say, selfishly for us, the less travel was nice because,
Hmm.
having like Brown, Providence are great teams to play against, but those are like 2.5 or 3 hours away from campus. And that's a lot for, transportation and trying to get us to and from games. The proximity, plus we have a lot of players from the areas, players that
Hmm.
are from New Jersey. It was great because they played against a team from their state. Parents and stuff like that could go. We had some from like the Long Island area, so when we were down at Adelphi or Hofstra, it's great because it allows the players for their families to attend the games as well.
No, that's awesome. Well, we're happy it worked out for you guys. Obviously, 12-0 finishing the season, clinching your playoff berth, conference champs. So yeah, thankfully it worked out for you guys.
Thank you. Yeah,
Definitely.
it's been a great season.
With your guys, we said your conference schedule is done. Do you have any non-conference schedule for the next month? I know finishing this early conference games, not playing a game for a month could be, I know you'll have your practices, you'll probably play within each other, but it's not the same as playing against another team in your area. Do you plan on even replaying some of your conference opponents in a non-conference game, or maybe some teams from your conference from last year, you reached out to them?
Yeah, we have 2 weekends set up. After this week, the team goes on spring break. So we have an earlier spring break. So they'll be back the week of the 8th, I think it is. So we have a game on that Sunday, the 15th, at home, which is going to be our senior day, which is going to be great because we'll get to recognize our four seniors. And then we're going to travel to Quinnipiac on Sunday, the 22nd, the weekend before regionals to get another couple games in. So we'll have the opportunity to get 4 games in before the regionals.
That's awesome, coach. So just a quick thing for Gracie and Rebecca. I always like to, with players, I always like to kind of touch on how did you find out about Sacred Heart club basketball? What made you, try out for the team? Were you planning on playing basketball in college and you chose Sacred Heart, or just how you kind of found out?
I can go first. Sacred Heart was one of the last schools I visited, but a large part of my decision did um, lie within if they had club sports or not. I played competitively in high school, AAU, but I wasn't really ready to take that next step to play, D1, D2, D3. So knowing that Sacred Heart had club basketball was definitely a huge part of why I chose here. And we're really competitive, which makes a difference too. It's not just, you show up and you do this and that and you lose a few games. We're competitive and that makes a huge difference.
I would agree. And going off of that, I didn't even know like Sacred Heart was their whole thing with club sports. But when I went to the interest meetings and like the days where they do have everything set up, meeting all the girls just immediately was like, wow, they really are like a family. Like they do play hard. And I still remember like some of our seniors, and I remember even Gracie saying this, like, if you want to win, like you have to show up to practice and like show up and be disciplined. I just remember like that's kind of how I played in high school. So um, it really drew me into the club sports. So obviously very glad that I found them and I joined.
That's awesome. So were you guys both with the team last year that made it to the national championship, or are you guys new to the team? And obviously we heard from the coach what he thinks it's going to bring, but you two as players, I feel like it's different getting that player experience at a national stage than the coaching experience. So I just want to hear from you guys about what you think is going to help you guys this year at regionals and the national champ. If you make national championship, that as well, having the experience of being there once before.
Yeah, I believe Becca was there too. We both were there last year for nationals, and it was an amazing experience. It's something that we were working towards. So even though we are at the at-large bid, it still was really satisfying to have our hard work recognized. And we got to play against some of the best teams. in the country. So it really showed us what was out there, and it allowed us to look at the things that we need to work on. And, we're hoping to go back this year. And we kind of know we're up again. So it was really good for the future of our program.
I agree. And I think one of the advantages we will have this year, if we do make it there, is that we weren't really expecting like the travel, the gym size, like everything was so different that it kind of threw us off our game, I would say. Like the game we lost, we played terribly. So now that we know what we're up against and like who we're facing and like the atmosphere of it all, it'll be much easier for us to come in and play our game.
Awesome. Matt, you have any questions for them, or should we move on to
No,
the next segment?
no,
So
I think
you
we should
guys are
move on.
gonna stick around. We got this segment what we call is three in the key. What we have is a wheel that we spin with a bunch of different topics on it, as you could see on the screen. And we'll spin it, whatever it lands on, we're gonna ask you guys to just answer the question, whatever it may be. So here's the first one. So this one's pretty straightforward, favorite playing memory. So Coach, if you want to give one from your coaching experience, and then Rebecca and Grace, if you want to give playing memory, obviously, we'll go from there.
I feel like my favorite memory coaching and being around the team was probably going to the national championship last year. I feel like it was able like a whole new experience. Like the girls on the bus for like the 8 hours. I feel like it was like a bonding experience. We were like all playing games. We were all like together close for that long of a period, and to be able to go that far and play new teams and be in a hotel with every other team and get to know other people on like Syracuse or Michigan State. It was kind of nice to have those conversations with coaches and players. And I would say, yeah, that's probably my favorite city that we went to coach or play in.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that Saturday you guys do an awesome job on that Saturday of the semifinals with the speed to the competitive contests, whether it's the 3-point contest, you did the speed dribble, the slam dunk. We had, I think Rebecca was a judge in the dunk contest. We had one of our players won the speed dribble, but just being there and having all those teams and that excitement in the gym for the contest, which led to the national semis, which that was pretty awesome. That was a great day.
I think as a player, I feel like I always come back to this, but I think, Coach, you can harp in on this. 2 years ago, it was a Fairfield game, and we needed the two big wins, and we came out and beat them by what was it? It was a really close game,
Yes.
but that's always a memory I look back on because it really showed the team's grit and determination and how deep our bench was, and it was just a day that we all played together and we came out with two wins. So that's definitely one of my favorite memories.
Yeah, those were close games that went down to the wire, both of them, and there was a lot on the line for us and Fairfield that day. It's a great point.
For me, it's kind of a tie between the regional national and then like last year when we had those big games against Fairfield and Providence. Like it was so amazing to take on teams that were kind of our level and then prove to ourselves that we could rise above and win. And then for regionals and nationals, that's where I like me and a couple other of the freshmen last year like got really close and integrated to the team. And I think that it was just so fun. Like we were all like sisters, just like playing games, sleeping in hotel rooms, eating together. It was just an amazing time.
That's awesome. Thanks, girls and Coach. We'll head on to that second wheel spin now. So here we go. So this one's pretty self-explanatory too. If you had to choose between MJ or LeBron, who do you think is your GOAT?
I mean, being younger, I would probably choose LeBron. Being able to like watch him, I would say most of my life. But I know his answer is very different. We've gone back and forth multiple
Absolutely.
times on who we think is
Um,
better, and we've had some long debates on that.
yeah, I'm only laughing because we've had these conversations, Liam and I, plenty of times. I'm gonna go hands down MJ. There's no doubt the way the game was played. You needed a big shot, big play. He just was absolutely ridiculous.
I think I'm gonna go with Liam, a little younger, so LeBron.
I'm also gonna have to go with LeBron just because I haven't really watched Michael Jordan play in a while.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like it's a lot of, as Matt knows, we've had this is our fourth pod, and we've had this question. I think got three of them almost, and it seems
Yeah.
like it's a generation thing. If you watched, basketball when you were really young, you saw maybe some part of MJ like highlights and stuff like that. But if you didn't really watch it, and like the older generation's gonna lean towards MJ, the younger generation's always gonna lean towards LeBron because we've seen what LeBron's done these last however many years. But
That's a
all right, guys.
tough debate to have. Depends on
Yeah,
what you consider an MVP.
yeah. But all right, let's move on to the third wheel spin. So what we're gonna do here is, every team has their rivals, right? You always, you have those great games and you always want to beat them, but just say something nice about your rival school, whether it be, at the club level or even if, you don't really have a huge rival as a club team, if you have a rival with like, Sacred Heart in general.
I would say our biggest rival is probably Fairfield, being like 15, 20 minutes down the road. And if I had to say something nice, that'd probably it's always a competitive game. I know going into it each year that we have to play them, that's the game circled on the calendar. Like this is probably our toughest game. So I'll give that to them. They're always a well balanced, well coached, and hard playing team. You never walk into the gym and you know you're going to get an easy game with them. It's always tough.
I would agree with that. Rivalry game, as Liam said, they're right down the street, and they bring their A game both every time we play them. It's kind of like a bragging rights game. Everybody's ready to play. At the end of it, everybody's shaking hands. A bunch of them are friends with each other, know each other outside. So it's nice to be able to have that, but also to be able to be competitive during the game. And they're hard working. They play hard, and it's always great to play them.
I definitely agree. Very well-rounded team, great shooters, got some good post players. And there's not many people that match coaches' fire and love for a team, but the coach definitely brings some heat every time. So it's a good matchup coach wise too.
I think this is a really good question because we played them 2 days ago, so it's like still fresh in my mind. But if I were to like say one thing, they are really, really fast moving. As a forward, it was hard for me to like keep up with everyone. They're just like off the break, getting most of their points from like breakaways and everything. It's just like hard to keep up with. And I will say their coach does add a lot of intensity and like fuels both teams.
Coach, I have a question for you in terms of their head coach. Are you guys friends? What's that relationship looking like?
Yeah, I would say that there's a mutual respect there. I think when it comes down to it, we both honestly love our teams. We love the people that are part of our program and love the buy-in and the energy and effort that's put in there. And knowing going into those games that each team's going to bring their A game. Whether, Liam did a great job this week breaking down some film that we saw. So we had a pretty detailed scout going into that game. So knowing what they did, but also to their credit, they knew what we were doing. With the opportunity for them to catch some of our games that were live. And, as Rebecca said, they have the ability to extend the floor. They run a fantastic 5-out series where everybody's making basket cuts. They're moving without the basketball. So, in terms of coaching, you love to coach against somebody that has that intensity, that has that energy, and gets their team motivated to play. So honestly, it's a lot of fun going in there.
Well, no, that's great to hear. That's awesome to hear. I don't know if there's any bad blood, any past history there, or what the situation was. Both players, Gracie and Rebecca, mentioned that you guys were bring the intensity. So I don't know if things got a little heated in other ways or not.
I mean, there's in the past there's been moments. It's nothing like out of ill will. There's like a call or something where they're both obviously one agrees, one disagrees. So there's moments there, but it's the normal typical rivalry game where you got two coaches trying to get the bragging rights. So that's really it. Nothing
Gotcha.
too crazy, but there's been heated moments on both sidelines.
It's all comes in the level of competition.
Yep.
You want to compete, you want to play, and you kind of honestly want to come on the right side of the scoreboard. So at the end, when you're in the game, you're kind of locked into what's going on. But after the game, obviously, we had a really nice conversation with them on Saturday after the game. There's a lot of respect between both schools and both programs. So I think, during the game, there's that competitive edge or that competitive component.
Absolutely.
Definitely, coach. Well, thanks, guys. One last thing that we want to let you do after that 3 in the key. It's called Plug the Program. What we want you to do is, tell us where players or fans can find you guys on social media, around campus. Just tell us where we can learn a bit about Sacred Heart Women's Club basketball.
There is a website through the university, through Sacred Heart Club Sports. It's a great website. It has a breakdown of every team, club sports wise, with rosters, schedules, all that. We have a team Instagram page that's Shoe Club WBB, and then there's also an Instagram for Shoe Club Sports. So the school does a great job publicizing all the programs, all the teams. We have some of our players that manage the Instagram page, so they're constantly posting stuff, whether it's team bonding events, whether it is game day stuff, results of games, stuff that's going on. So it's a nice opportunity to promote the program, and the girls do a great job with it.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys, and hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yep.
You
Thank you
too.
very much for having us.
Thank you. Good luck in regionals.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was Sacred Heart Women's Club basketball. Coaches Mike and Liam, and players Gracie and Rebecca. It's great having them on, and we appreciate them coming on. Well, Matt, one last thing we want to do is some housekeeping items. Just what do NCBBA teams have to look out for? I know we mentioned regionals earlier, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the midst of the season.
Yeah, really, outside of regionals, I would say league dues. Those are due on Saturday, the 28th. So please, if you're one of those teams who haven't paid it yet, please make sure you get that paid by Saturday. I will be sending out email reminders to those teams today. Other things to look out for: renewal paperwork for the 26-27 season has been sent to all teams. It's also on each league's website. So please make sure you're working on that, getting that stuff turned in before you go away for the summer. The technical date on that is June 1st. So if possible, please try to get in before June 1st. If it's after June 1st, not a big deal. We just like to have as much as possible before everybody goes away for summer. That way we're not chasing you guys down, hounding you whenever you get back to school come August, September, looking for this paperwork, looking for updates on if you guys are coming back or not. So making sure you're getting that information in. Other than that, I think it's really about it at this point in time. It's like I said, it's getting down to crunch time. Teams are starting to qualify for regionals, so it's just about finishing the season strong. Paperwork wise, that's really about it. Just dues and next season's paperwork, and then be on the lookout for information for all region All-American nominations will be coming out at some point in March as well. So make sure you're on the lookout for that stuff too. That'll all be sent via email.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate all the updates. And that'll do it for this episode of Above the Rim. I appreciate you guys joining us today. And don't forget, it's a game. Have fun.
Let's go clubbing.